right, well, it's 9:32, so I think we should get started. Thanks for being here, everybody, this morning. Nice to see you. I'm just back from a trip down to Miami to see some of you down there, and we would love the opportunity to see others face to face when the opportunities arise. So we're here today to talk about this idea of creating a sense of home at work. What we're going to do is I'm going to ask a couple of questions of you first, and I just need a couple folks to come off mute and share your thoughts. And then I'm going to show a couple of slides on it. And then we're going to take the slides down at the end. We'll talk a little bit more about how to do a few things. So my first question is, I'm not asking you how, I just like to see a show of hands. How many of you make a conscious effort to create a sense of home at work? Just raise your hand if you make any effort to do that. Okay, some yes, some no, that's fine. What I'd like to ask you, not is how you do that, we're going to talk about that later. What I want to ask you is why? For those of you who make an effort to create a sense of home at work, why do you do that? Why do you make the effort? Let's hear from one or two of you. Barbara, I think you raised your hand. Would you mind just coming off mute and letting us know why you do that?
Good morning. Because I spend so much time in the office. So I like to drink tea. So I brought in tea bags and honey and milk. I have decorated my desk a little bit with some inspirational things. A cup that I like from home that I keep my pens in, and I'm here all day, so I might as well feel comfortable.
Okay, so it's about comfort for you. Got it. Thank you. Donald, I see your hand up.
Today I'm actually going to share the video because I'm kind of bummy in the morning. Best way to explain.
Thanks for joining us. Yes.
Okay.
Why do you do this?
My previous job, I actually worked with, I was in the police department in New York City. I work with a lot of people, and it's nice to actually be part of something. It's, to feel like, you're there. It's easier when you go to work, there are people you can at least, bounce ideas off of. I guess sometimes a sense of security.
Got it.
I know when I went to work, you go there, it would always be, people would always have the same type of, I would say, I don't know, everybody was moving in the same direction. Like in the police department, we were all like there for the police department. And then we talked about life. It became, I guess, the second family, so to speak, second place you go to deal with everything.
Got it. Thank you. So it sounds like it's about security was a word you used, and maybe like membership or connection or something like that. Is that part of it for you?
Yeah, actually, yes, it is.
Okay, great. So now I'm going to ask you a tough question. And I'd like to hear a couple of thoughts before we go to the slide deck. Good morning to those who just joined. All of you sell and buy houses on behalf of clients, with clients, for clients, etc. And you've been doing it for years, even decades. But I want to ask you a very fundamental question. What is home? Today's title is Creating a Sense of Home at Work. What is home? Marlene?
Home to me is a place of belonging, a place where I have it's family. So I was going to say, even I haven't decorated my office. I haven't been there in a year, but I do have photos of my family right up there, and they're my why. So home is someplace that you belong to.
Okay. The word belong, the word family, got it. Of course, one of the most common ways we typically do this is by having pictures of our honey or our kids or somebody on the desk with us, or maybe we have our kids' latest artwork on the wall behind us or something like that. These are very common. Who else? If I ask you, what is home? What's your answer?
I would say it's a safe space.
A safe space. So it's about safety for you. That's a part of it. Got it. So you use the word safety. Don used the word security before. Those might be similar. They might be a little different. So we're getting into some interesting things here. I mean, no one has mentioned the word furniture. No one has mentioned the word 3 bathrooms. So does this mean that you make a distinction in your mind between house and home? Is a house a home? Is a house necessarily a home? Is a home necessarily a house?
I think they're actually two different things.
Two different things. So what makes them different?
A house is where you go to. The home is where you reside, where you go, where you can let your hair down, so to speak, where you can go and relax.
Okay.
No matter what happens, you still feel like, happy, secure, a place where you can go and do whatever. You could sit in the house and wear a baseball hat and look bummy, so to speak.
Got it. That makes perfect sense. Josh throws in the word community. Absolutely. So let me pull up the slide deck here for a minute, talk about this a little bit further, and then we'll have a little more discussion after that. Okay. Creating a sense of home at work. Question we've just been thinking about is, what is home? When we ask this question of many people, very often the first thing that comes to mind is their home. That is my sofa, my kitchen, my refrigerator with the ice maker or the ice server or whatever in the front, and maybe the new stove that I'm really happy about. We move from a surface kind of thing-oriented thing. But when we think about it a little bit more, if we're going to make a distinction between house and home, and some of you are saying just that, you're talking not about the things that are there, but you're talking about what happens there. Certain practices or certain activities. Many families or whoever lives in a home together often have certain practices. For example, you might make breakfast together every Saturday. That's a typical practice in your house. Or maybe you are all busy during the day and you're all running around doing your own thing, but you make a point of coming back together and sitting down together for dinner, where you have that kind of family time or community time, to put it in Josh's words. And of course, there's lots of activities that are a part of home life as well. It could be you rake the leaves in the fall, or maybe you plant a garden in the spring. Some kind of activities are part of what makes your place your home. But you guys came up with some interesting other things too. You talked about things like belonging and security and relaxing, comfort. There you're talking about other things. You're talking about attitudes that people may have while they're at home. You're talking about being able to express interest that they have or enjoy interest that they have, even something like sitting on the sofa and watching Netflix, right? Activities like this that express an interest, or maybe you paint at home, or maybe you have listened to music on your stereo or something like that, or maybe you all share a love for certain kind of music like jazz or whatever. And of course, there's this element of relationships. Most of us probably wouldn't say that a home is a home without any relationship things that happen there. There's something about being in that space with other people that makes a house a home. What we want to really point your focus to today is home is fundamentally an experience. When we think of home, what we're thinking of is all the things that occur that take place within that space that we call our home. It could be a building. It could be a tent. You could be camping, right? All these things could happen that makes you feel something while they happen. You could even be camping out in a tent in a campground with your family. And to you at that moment, that's home. It's sitting around that campfire and telling jokes or telling stories or busting on each other or whatever it is you do, or it's climbing into that sleeping bag and somebody else is in the tent with you and that person means a lot to you. These things make that space temporarily for a night or two or however long you camp, your home. It's because of what's happening in that space. And so when we think about home, we're thinking about all of these things: attitudes, interests, relationships, activities. It's the experience that we have of being there that is the experience of home. And when you talked before about comfort, security, relaxation, family, belonging, you're all talking about an experience. You're talking about a mental experience of something with people around you. So what do we do with this understanding of separating house and home? When thinking about home as experience, what do we do about that? How can we create home at work? Well, if we recognize that home is fundamentally an experience, then we start to ask ourselves, what is the experience that makes us feel at home? Maybe it is having that cup of tea right there, because your tea is what kind of just like comforts you and grounds you in the morning so that you can face the world. Or maybe it's a cup of coffee for you. But if we think about home as an experience, it goes beyond those things like having the photos on the table. It's how are we interacting with others? It's what's happening between the people who are sharing this space that is our home together. So there are 3 steps you can take to create home at work. First of all, think about what is the experience that you want to create. If you're leading the team, and by the way, I'm not just speaking to the leaders of the team here, I'm speaking to anyone who's independent as well. Because anyone who's independent, you may not have people on your team as it's defined by Compass, but you're still working very closely with other people to create the outcomes that are important to you, whether they're lawyers, inspectors, title people, whoever. You have people who you collaborate with on a regular basis to help you do what it is you do. And so in that sense, you should be thinking about them as your team or your family in this case. They may not be under the same roof as you. They may not be under the same corporate umbrella as you, but they're sharing this space with you. They're sharing this experience with you to create the outcomes that matter to all of you. So give some thought to what kind of experience you want to create for the people that matter for you. When you think about what does the home experience mean for you, Donald talked about it, Deanna talked about it, Barbara talked about it, and they brought up words like belonging, security, comfort was the first word. How do you create comfort for yourself? And do you suppose anybody else you work with is interested in comfort expressed that same way? How about belonging? How do you know that you're experiencing belonging? And do you think anybody else that you work with cares about that? It's the first thing to think about. How do you define home? How do you think you can create it for yourself? But you can't stop there. You need to go to the people who you're working with here, who you're sharing this home space with, sharing this relationship and this experience with, and ask them, what does home mean to them? For example, if somebody says, you know what I really treasure about my family and my home is we get together with all of our extended family once a quarter, and we have a great weekend where we just have a barbecue together and have a great time over some food. Well, could you recreate something like that in your office or your team? Absolutely. Take your team out to dinner once every quarter. Take them out to dinner once a month. Have them over to your house for a barbecue. It becomes very easy to incorporate some of the things that home means to those on your team within your own team or your experience. And third, of course, is adopting the practices, the activities, and attitudes that reflect their experience at home. And there's 3 primary ones that you should keep in mind. You should write these down and think about this as you go forward. The 3 things that you most want to create as an experience for those that you work closely with are belonging, acceptance, and comfort. Ask yourself, what am I doing right now as a leader of my team or the people that I work with to create a feeling of belonging for them, to create a feeling of acceptance for them, to create a feeling of comfort for them? What do they need to know that they belong? For example, you could adopt a practice where when you have a meeting once in a while that you simply acknowledge, recognize, honor one person on your team. Maybe you have 5 people on your team, so you have 5 meetings over the course of the year. Of course, you have many more meetings, but you designate 5 where you are going to just spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just telling everyone how thankful you are that this person is on the team, the wonderful things that they do that makes the success for the team, so that everyone, especially them, know that they have a valued place on your team. That's a simple thing that you can do to create a sense of belonging. How about acceptance? Sometimes people make mistakes. If you jump all over them all the time, they're going to question whether they have true acceptance from you or not. It may require you once in a while to have a separate conversation with them to let them know that, you know, they're here and you recognize that we all make mistakes, and they're here because you recognize all the value that they bring besides the mistakes, and you accept them as they are. Maybe you're humble enough to say, you know what, we all make mistakes. Some simple statement or practice like that helps someone else feel that they're accepted. Whereas the opposite would make them feel absolutely like, I don't know whether I'm accepted or not. There's this concept called belonging, wait a minute, it's, gosh, I'm forgetting the term now. Something like belonging questioning, something like that, I forget, gosh, I can't remember the name. Anyway, belonging questioning, that is, being in this state where you're not sure whether you really belong, whether you're not sure you're really accepted. We've all experienced that one time or another, perhaps in our family or in our business life somewhere. And that's the last thing you want someone to be experiencing when they're working with you. So ask yourself right now, and as you go forward, what am I doing to create an experience for those around me to know that they belong, that they're accepted, and that they're comfortable? So let me pull this down, and we're going to talk a little bit. Okay. So let me ask you, what is one thing that you're currently doing or you think you could start doing that would make at least one person on your team feel more like or be more certain? Oh, that's what it is, belonging uncertainty. Belonging uncertainty. To make someone else more certain that they belong or that they are accepted on your team. Let's have someone come off of you. What's one thing you're currently doing or something you think you could do to give someone that kind of an experience? It's not easy. I told you this was going to be a little bit tough this morning. Think about it. What's one practice or activity or way of leading your team that would give someone that experience?
Share praise that they've received. You know, if they got a testimonial on Zillow or Yelp and you're having a team meeting, read that testimonial to the team or put it in an email and just say, wanted to share this incredible thing with everybody. Boom.
Great example. Recognizing achievement, recognizing some kind of positive impact on those around us, especially in the form of praise from a client, is absolutely something that could be shared with everyone, or certainly with that individual. Hey, I heard so-and-so said whatever. Thanks so much for all the great work you do. Or if it's in front of the whole team, which is even better when that's possible, say, hey, you know what? We got this great news that somebody said XYZ about Allie, and isn't it great that she can create that kind of a positive impact for our clients? Way to go, Allie. A perfect practice that helps someone understand that they have a valued place on your team. What we see fundamentally, what we see most of the time is people never have any indication of that. Yes, you keep them on the team, which is some vote of confidence in them, but nothing beyond that. And so we can all experience belonging uncertainty sometime. There's this concept called necessary effort versus discretionary effort. And the concept goes like this. There's a certain amount of effort that a person generally must expend in order to reasonably expect that their job is still going to be there for them tomorrow. But for most people, that's not the maximum effort that they could put forth. In most businesses, in most settings, in most teams, there's more that a person could do if he or she were sufficiently motivated to do so. And in surveys that the psychologists and sociologists do in this work, they find that on average for Americans and American participants in various teams, it's about 80% of their capacity goes to what we call necessary effort. You need to basically show up on time. You need to basically do your job. You need to basically care enough about it to be decent at it. But that's not necessarily your maximum. But above that is what we call discretionary effort. Discretionary effort is the effort that you could choose to apply if you were sufficiently motivated to do so. And that's somewhere between 20 and 30% more capability, or we'll call it lost productivity. Everyone screams about how important it is to get another 5% productivity out of their company, or 3% productivity, or I want 3% better sales out of my salespeople this year. Well, guess what? If a person is not sufficiently motivated to really play the game at the highest level, you're giving up somewhere between 10, 20, even 30% potential income that's available to you with the people you have right now. And guess what the number one motivating factor is for people in surveys to apply that discretionary effort?
Acknowledgement and praise.
Acknowledgement of praise, correct. That's a specific
belonging.
In a more general sense, it's belonging and acceptance, correct. So belonging, acceptance, and comfort is crucial to your success. Doesn't matter what team you're on, doesn't matter how big your team is, doesn't matter what your GCI is. None of this stuff matters. What we're talking about today is creating an experience where someone knows that he or she is belongs and is accepted and valued. Or as we say a lot these days in the DEI space, and we're talking about belonging, person is seen, heard, and valued. So let's hear from a couple more folks. What's a simple action that you can take as a leader of your team to help others on your team feel like they belong, they're accepted, or are comfortable.
Make sure that they're talking to each other, not just to you. Like, do they have other relationships? Are the other relationships that you're not involved with on the team very strong? And do they have access to these people? And so that there's like a strong culture when you're not involved with that culture. So like a connectivity component, I guess. I don't know.
Absolutely. The words that came up this morning were community, connection. I used the word membership after hearing what Donald was talking about, his connection to the other police officers. So there's something about not just the relationship with you, but the relationship with others on the team. And if your kind of idea is like, it's just like a hub and spokes, like here's a salesperson and here's an admin and here's a marketing person, and they don't have any relationship to each other, just to meet, you may be missing out on something that's really valuable to them. Some people value connection and community more than anything. Some people value learning and growth more than anything. Do you even know what your person values most on your team? If you do, if you follow that second step, which is learning what home means to them, which really means, what is it they're looking for in their experience, then it gives you a chance to provide that. For those who do value that, absolutely, relationships with others is a step that you can take in the right direction. So many other things. Like, let's say that someone really values the chance where they like their own me time. They say, you know what I love about my family? We do things together, but then they let me do my own thing. And my own thing is writing music or whatever on the computer, right? What they may be telling you indirectly is, I need a little work-life balance here. And I know some of you have told me that you have rules on your team, which is nobody does any emails after 9 o'clock, or I'm not going to send any emails after 9 o'clock, or nobody send me any emails after 9 o'clock, or texting or whatever. Well, it may be that that person could use something like that. And so having a conversation with that person where you can understand where that boundary is helps that person experience the comfort that he or she needs to be away from the game a little bit, so that he or she can re-energize, kind of like refocus, and then jump back into the game again. Not everybody is a 24/7 performer, but that doesn't mean that they can't be valuable members of the team.
David.
Let's hear another. Colleen,
hi.
please.
Oh, hi. Sure. I was, if this wasn't said, I came in a little late. I had trouble with my computer. I was saying, if one of the team members is not feeling, welcomed, or, they feel like an outsider, take that person to lunch and just really make them feel great. Take them to a really nice place and just tell them how much you value them. The other thing is to do a monthly event with the team members. So maybe go bowling together, when everything, gets better, or take them to a nice dinner somewhere. Like here in Boston, we have some beautiful restaurants downtown you could take the team to once a month, or you could take them on a luncheon, something like that, that just really gets everybody together talking about things. And, when you pay for the whole thing, the team leader pays for everything so that they don't have to worry about any kind of expense.
Yeah, thank you, Colleen. That activity, that suggestion touches on 2 of those 6 things that were on the slides. Remember, we talked about things, and then practices and activities and attitudes and interests and relationships, right? That touches on relationships and activities. And so for people who care about relationships and care about activities, something like going out for dinner, going out bowling, or whatever it is absolutely something that touches on that home experience for them. And so if you knew that they valued the activities that they have in their home life, that's an important part of what they consider home to be, then absolutely, that's something you should be considering. What else? It's not easy, but this is really crucial stuff. What else? Marina? Did I see you? No?
Hi.
Yes, hi.
Sorry, I'm multitasking, getting ready for 50,000 showings. I'm not a team lead, but what I would, feedback for those that are, I would say definitely create a sense of family. Like, right? Like, if you are in a bind and there is a really important listing and you really can't show it, make sure that the person is comfortable reaching out to any of the team members and the team lead. If it's like, oh my God, it's only a $400,000, and you have like a 5 million, I don't feel like I don't want to bother you. Make sure that they are comfortable, that they have that they have the support, and it's a family and something like that. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Marina. You know, when people don't experience this family that she's talking about, when they have belonging uncertainty, 99 times out of 100, it's because the boss just isn't watching. You know, when you hear somebody who leaves a team in any business because they just didn't feel it was the right place for them, almost always the boss didn't know they were feeling that way, or they didn't know the extent to which they were feeling that way. And very often, if it's a good person who walks away, you certainly don't want that. If it's a good person that walks away, the boss says, gosh, you know, I never even knew what happened. Well, where were you? You know, what are you looking for? What are you listening for? What I find a lot in real estate teams as well as other teams is the folks who are there spend an inordinate amount of time doing due diligence on their external clients. They'll try to learn everything they can about what they like, what they don't like, how they see the world, what their interests are, what their priorities are. But they don't go nearly as far to understand the same about their internal clients. Your internal clients are who? All the people that you work with. You can't succeed with the external clients without your internal clients. And these are the people that you work with, your marketing people, your admin people, the lawyers, the inspectors, the title people. Everybody who helps you achieve the outcome that you want with an external client is your internal client. Does that make sense? So why is it that we spend so much time thinking about how to serve the needs and wants of an external client, and we totally just tend to ignore so much of what's internal? The internal clients are the pathway to the happiness of the external client. And so creating a sense of home at work is part and parcel. It is the pathway to create the success that you want to create with your external client. So those 3 steps before, we mentioned on the slide deck, think about what's important to you in creating a sense of home for your family, your group, your team. And I actually used on that slide deck partners rather than the word teammates, because I want to emphasize for the folks who are independent here, you have teammates, you have family, you have a team just as much as everybody else. It's just not an intact team. So find out, decide, get clear about what kind of a leadership experience or what kind of a home experience you want your people to have. Then make sure you're going to spend some time talking with them, understanding what's important to them. And third, combine that information to create a set of activities, practices, experiences that give the people the experience that they value of home. If they value comfort, you need to find a way to do that. If they value family, think about how you can do that. Maybe it is going out to go bowling or something like that. Maybe it is taking a cooking class together. That's a great activity. Do you ever do that? Get a group of people together. There's people out there in almost every city now where they just do an evening of cooking. And you just go there and you pay the money and you have a great evening together cooking a great meal. It's really a lot of fun. Or if you have somebody on your team who's a real foodie, you can work with that person to create an experience right in somebody's house, maybe your house. There's so many things that you can do, but it takes a little bit of creativity and it takes a little bit of practice and time to get it right. But you must, as a fundamental step, you must understand how each person on your team defines home. Okay, any closing remarks or thoughts from anybody? I'm really curious what stands out for you or what resonates for you in this conversation this morning. Let's hear from a couple of you.
I thought it was
Helene,
really,
yeah.
This is Michelle from New
Michelle,
Jersey.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
And I really liked this. And you put a lot of thoughts into my head because my son and I work together and we're hiring an admin. And there was somebody who fit it perfectly, but I didn't really like her. So, and I said to Ryan, I want to walk in the morning and be happy seeing somebody. And so that whole thing with home defined how I was feeling about that person joining our team.
Got it.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Michelle.
That was really
Thank you,
great.
Michelle, for bringing that up. It's, so many of us focus only on the skills on some, resume. This person can do this person can do that. But what really matters in the long run is, are they a fit for your family? And we always say, hire for attitude, train for skills. because it's easier to change a person's skill set than it is to change their mindset. And so as you clarify what home means for you and therefore how you want to have your experience at work, you want to make sure that you have other people that have some degree of congruence with that. Doesn't mean everybody has to be a mini you, certainly not. Everyone's allowed to have their own way of defining home. On the other hand, when you say that someone's not a fit for me, generally what it means is they want to do business in a different way. And that's perfectly fine. They can do business any way they want. But to be a really aligned team and a comfortable team and a productive team, there needs to be some alignment there. So, this work is not just about creating the experience for the people who are on the team today. It's also about thinking about who you need to bring onto the team in the future. Okay, we're a couple of minutes past 10. Please continue to think about this. If you need any help having these conversations with your team, certainly reach out to us. We'd be glad to do that.
And guys,
thanks for your time, everybody.
I just put a quick poll here. If you can just click, there's 2 questions. If you could just take it, I would be super appreciative. Just clicking on the poll before you sign out. And,
I know it's hard work, everybody, to do this, but really good work to think about it. Keep it in mind, and we're here to help anytime going forward. You can have this experience, and so can everybody on your team. So have a great day, everybody. Go out there and do a good job.
We'll see
Take
you
care, everybody.
on Monday.
Yeah, well, thank you for everything.
Thanks, Donald.